Hello everybody, and welcome to Prop Live, your weekly prop and costume making Q&A session. I'm Bill Duran, the prop maker over here at Punished Props in my shop, hanging out with a buddy like we usually are. And this week we have Stephen K. Smith from SKS Props. Hey, how's it going?
Oh, it's going.
You are, as I am sure everyone can tell from the background of your video there, you are waist deep in masks, aren't you?
Always. Got the last of the Christmas orders going out tomorrow and Saturday.
That is great. That is quite a collection that you have back there. I imagine most of those are all going to get sent out somewhere, right?
Yeah, just about everything you see goes out.
You're not hanging on to those to I don't know, like make a carpet out of them or something.
I have my own personal collection, but yeah, gotta supply the masses with as many Psycho and Destiny characters as possible.
That's cool. For folks at home who are unfamiliar for some reason, Steven runs SKS Props. You can go to sksprops.com and check out things like his adorable daughter with a giant axe. And what's this guy, Turbo Kid?
It's the main villain, Skeletron, from the new movie Turbo Kid.
That's right. You had that guy over at DragonCon this year, which is really cool.
Yeah. 4 days after the movie came out, I had the complete costume done at DragonCon.
Mm-hmm. That's really awesome. That means you're really fast, right?
I actually built the entire arm weapon in 1 day.
Yeah.
2 days before DragonCon.
You worked with them though, is what I'm getting at. They helped you out.
No, actually, they didn't know about me until after DragonCon.
Wow.
They saw the pictures and like, what the heck is this guy doing? And yeah, after that is when I got in touch with the producers, and the main actor that was Skeletron contacted me, and that's when I got with them. And yeah, I made masks for their Indiegogo campaign, and now I have a licensing agreement, so I can sell those on my Etsy shop, and they're going to start a Turbo Kid shop pretty soon.
That's great. That's really cool. I'm so glad to see that sort of arrangement being made between content creators and people who make stuff like us. It's kind of like micro licensing. I'd like to see more of that in the future, where content creators and IP holders and makers of all types sort of get together and play nice with one another and have actual arrangements, and not just like, I hope I don't get a C&D.
Well, that was the thing. Is like, I guess one of the first producers that saw it before contacting me, like, he's not selling these, right? Because they copied it through one of the other emails they were sending me, and so I was like, no, I'm not selling them. They were just for me. But then we came to an agreement.
That's good. That's good. Cool. Well, that's really exciting. It's fun to see you working on that. Now, what do you have as far as mask land is concerned? What do you have other than making a bunch of them? You've got a couple of new things, right?
The Celestial Nighthawk was my last big one through Destiny.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Turbo Kid mask after that was the last one I was able to finish up.
What about the League of Legends guy?
Yeah, those were the brand new ones that I just finished not too long ago. They were actually commissions as wall decorations, so they are completely game accurate as far as the way the scale would be, the dimensions and everything. And I was lucky enough to have Jessica Negri got a set of them and showed them off on her Mail Monday a couple weeks ago.
That's cool. It's fantastic. Those of you guys watching at home are like, oh my God, this stuff's amazing. I need it. Go look up SKS Props on Etsy and you could purchase one. Yay, like this guy. This is, of course, I'm totally not familiar with League of Legends, but it is the Kindred Wolf mask, which is pretty sweet. Now, are those two are similar? Did you do two different sculpts of those?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, so I did the wolf mask there first, and then because that was the only one that I had commissioned at the time, and then after I finished that, I had someone else commission then the lamb mask.
cool. It's funny how that works. Like when you make one Mass Effect gun, people are like, "Oh, it's cool. Can you make me a different Mass Effect gun?" I'm like, "Sure." And then you're like waist deep in Mass Effect guns.
That's kind of how I am in the Destiny community right now. That my Third Man and Nighthawk Mass have been so popular. Everybody's like, "Well, can you make this one? And can you make this one?" Like, yeah, I can make any of them, but
I can make a mask from any game if you want. I don't have to just make Destiny stuff. Hey, I want to say hi to the chat. We got the chat going. If you guys are watching, if this is your first time and you want to join in on the fun, go to punishprops.com/live. We have, you can see them going chatting down below right here. And if you have a question for Steve or I, prop and costume making question, and you're watching live, we have the event page running, the Google event page. If you go there, there's a Q&A app. You can submit questions there that will show up right here on my screen, and we will answer them. But first, let's chat about a couple more things. You briefly mentioned that you're making a giant Warcraft orc. You want to tell me what you were on when you decided to do that?
Well, it was one of those that, you know, I see so many people go to these new conventions and they have just gigantic costumes that are just so elaborate. I mean, when you look at these things, some of them are like, you know, Stan Winston could have, you know, their studios could have put something into this. So I was like, you know what? I do a lot of the small ones, but I do like one big project every year. And so I've wanted to make a giant orc for years now, honestly. Even before I really got into prop making, I always thought that would be really cool. So I thought that this would be a really good opportunity to do it.
Good, cool. So you aiming. So here's, you got feet. You have feet so far, or not even feet, but skeletons of a foot or feet. Is that a Dragon Con plan?
Unfortunately, I don't think the orc is going to be able to travel far outside of the 8-hour radius of Kansas City where I live. Just because here is the boot at this point with a couple of the custom buckles on there. But you can see like one boot is gigantic.
Yeah. Brittany and I, we've been playing a lot of Fallout 4, and we had the same discussion about power armor. You know, boy, that would be really awesome to make, and I would have fun making it, and it'd be great to wear. But I like going even further than my house with that would be a chore. I don't know. We'd have to figure something out.
But, you know, it's like a lot of my builds, too, especially like if you looked at Dead Space. You know, Dead Space took me 300 hours, and I only wore it at 3 conventions just because it's such a pain to wear. But it's the journey of the building it that I enjoy more than wearing it.
Yeah, I hear you there. And then you get to take pictures of it and frighten your neighbors. That's awesome. I'm really excited to see how that thing turns out there. Real quick, too, folks at home, if you want, actually, I have it. Let me grab this real fast. Should have thought ahead, but here we go. I have this guy here. Nerf made this Star Wars Stormtrooper blaster, and it looks pretty legit. I mean, it's got a Nerf container sticking off the side of it. And the original was orange, but I repainted it, and it looks like a pretty legit prop right there. And I did a video on that, which is on my YouTube channel. But if you head on over to punishprops.com, I believe it's the first post up there right now. We're doing a giveaway on this thing. It's free to enter. You can enter up to 3 times. And that ends Friday? Yeah, that ends Friday. So go check that out. You have a chance to win this guy. And especially watch the video because I think it's pretty neat. It's a really easy build, especially for beginners who want to get into this. I imagine you've repainted a Nerf gun or two, Steven?
I've only actually done one. I did a Borderlands Bandit pistol back in the day. However, my Dead Space plasma cutter, I used the handle from a Nerf Maverick, and then the rest of it was all styrene. That's
cool. One more thing before we start taking our questions. We talked about this last week. Our friends over at Organic Armor. If you go to organicarmorarts.com/courses. They have courses on how they build all of their really amazing creations, and they're totally worth checking out. And if you do decide to purchase one of their courses and use the code PUNISHEDPROPS2015, you get, I think, $20 off your order, and we get a little bit of that, which is pretty awesome. So go check that out. That goes until January 5th. And that's it. That's all I have for housekeeping. It's time to take some questions. Are you ready, Steven?
I am ready.
All right. You look a little tired. You always look a little tired. We're talking the man making hundreds of masks while raising 2 daughters. This is a man who is perpetually exhausted. All right. The first one comes from Josh. He says, how are you? Oh, this is good. This is for you. How are you planning on supporting the massive structure of your upcoming orc build? And how will you attach it to you? What's the plan? This is what I want to know, too.
The awesome thing about this orc, it's going to be really hard for anyone else to try to duplicate it exactly, because we have here in Kansas City a foam manufacturer. Ooh. And so for all of the cosplayers in the area, any scrap foam that they have, we can buy like super cheap or at a really, really reduced discount. So like his feet are 3-inch solid foam blocks, which is, they're normally like $300 a sheet. Scrap pieces are like $5 for cosplayers. So the whole thing is going to be foam. Bill, you should like that.
Oh, I'm a fan.
And then, so with all the armor being foam, I'm actually going to do the like the upholstery foam and latex covering for the muscle suit that's underneath. So, I mean, structurally wise, it should be fairly light overall.
I imagine you probably saw the video that Frank did on his Rancor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I imagine something similar to that.
Yeah, because
it wasn't heavy at all.
That's the thing, is that I see so many of the guys that do like the 40K stuff, that they do like the giant wooden platforms for the feet and everything. That's the biggest complaint I've heard, is that the feet get so heavy, and and then they have to have the pipe structure underneath to support all the armor, and then that starts adding weight onto it. So like I said, weight wise, I think it will be pretty light, but it will be extremely hot.
Oh yes, it certainly will. Did you get to check out the Thrall costume that was at Emerald City Comicon?
I did, yeah.
That was Ryan Paskadi. He's got a page called Paskadi Props, and I'm probably butchering his name. But he's worth checking out, too. He did this Thrall. He had it at BlizzCon as well, which is pretty cool. It's a big the whole face and everything is sculpted. The under part is the musculature, and all that's all foam. It's a really, really cool build. Everything was... He had plucked hair or punched hair for the stubble. It was so good.
Awesome.
Yeah. Cool. Well, there you go. That's how Steven's doing his thing, Josh. Good luck if you try to replicate it. All right. This next one coming in from Scott. He says, Bill, I know that you use 3D printers. What, in your professional opinion, is the worst part about using 3D printers in your props? And what would you change about the process of using them if you could? The cleanup work is probably the worst part. And if you print it well, if you use the right software, if you use the right techniques, there isn't a lot of cleanup work. You do have to put you have to model it with the end product in mind, though, and the process in mind. Getting good at that is not easy. It takes a lot of time and takes a lot of practice, and you have to spit out a lot of filament to get good at it. What I would change about the process is I would buy a $250,000 printer, an object printer that prints out perfect pieces, perfect glorious pieces. Now, Steve, you've got a printer. Which one do you have?
I want a Pegasus
right.
3D resin printer through the Instructables site. Unfortunately, unlike you, I did not go to school for 3D modeling, so everything's been self-taught, which is why it's still faster for me to build out of clay and styrene.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of give and take with 3D printing. So like you said, like being good at the modeling process, is the biggest stumbling block for most people. And I still have a lot to learn too. Not just, like I know how to model stuff, but modeling it so that it can be printed well is still very tricky. All right, there you go, Scott. Hopefully you're doing your own 3D printing and learning along the way. All right. James wants to know, what are your favorite costumes that you built so far and why? What do you got, Steven? What's your favorite?
Man, it seems like every time you build a new one, it's kind of your favorite.
Of course. Because you're an artist and everything before then was crap.
Yeah, exactly. You know, every one of them, you know, has like my favorite piece in it. So like, you know, that's the thing. Is like with the Destiny, of course, the masks are awesome. But I mean, if I had to pick one particular costume, my Isaac Clarke Dead Space is still my absolute favorite.
Yeah.
At least until this giant orc gets made, and then it might take the cake.
I love the Draugrs still. We just wore them for we were at Autodesk University. We wore them again. Even though I keep saying I'll never wear those stupid things again. The thing I love about those is even if people don't know what the character is, they love it. There's glowing eyes, there's a skull, there's armor, it's creepy. It always gets a really great reaction. So that's got to be mine. Thank you, James. Cool. Let's see here. Next one comes from Venger. Sounds like Google isn't filtering my audio as well as it was. Should a proper maker have a written document expressing warranties, liabilities, refunds, and other such technical legal concerns if they are not a legally registered business? You might want to talk to a lawyer about that, but I've never done any of that stuff. I don't know. You just tell people a hunk of plastic, and it seems like you shouldn't have to say, "Don't try and eat this."
Yeah, and that's why most of the stuff I sell is through Etsy, which is, you know, an art website. Most people understand everything's handmade, and you know, it's, you know, they're not toys, you know.
Yeah. I will say, if you do a big project, a big commission, like with a company, having a contract. In fact, when I was talking with Harrison, and he was on a couple months ago, we went into this in greater detail. If he does a commission for a big company, he'll send them a contract as well as vice versa. Just so dealing with repairs, all sorts of other stuff. There's no surprises. Yeah. Yes, people in the chat say I'm echoing, and there's nothing we can do about it. I'm sorry. All right. Thank you, Venger. See here, this one's from Sam. This question is directed towards Steven. Could you talk about the painting technique you use, specifically the shading and depth of the Kindred wolf and lamb masks?
Well, when it comes to my paint jobs, the biggest thing is like multiple layers. Do you want me to try these headphones real fast? I got some real cheap ones.
Sure. I'll find a picture of the wolf mask. Oh, no, I didn't do Etsy. There it is.
All right, does that help at all?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't hear myself at all. Do you hear me?
I do hear you.
All right. So here we go. Here's the wolf mask. Why don't you tell us a little bit, or which one's this? This is the wolf. Tell us a little bit about how it's painted.
Okay, so with most of these, the biggest difference with them really is the base color that you start with is a lot of times nowhere near the color that it ends up being. Actually, Bill, if you go to the other one, the lamb mask,
all right,
because that's the one I've actually got a lot of emails asking, like, how is this mask, you know, white, but has so much depth to it?
Mm-hmm.
So like with this mask, the whole base color for the entire thing is a sky blue. And then it is washed over with a mop brush in that purple that you see. And then multiple layers are built up in like unbleached titanium and parchment whites, layer after layer after layer to get to that highlight. So, I mean, that's the thing, is that lots and lots of layers. Like if you're doing gold, you don't do just gold. If you're doing white, you don't do just white. But with, you know, I was very lucky when I went to school, we didn't have digital stuff. We did everything old school. So I learned how to mix everything by, you know, by sight. I took a lot of color theory classes and all that.
There you go. It's the same as an onion. Lots of layers.
Lots of layers.
That's cool. I like that. It's something like a lot of the stuff I do. A good example, like this Nerf gun right here. A lot of the mechanical stuff, because it's supposed to look like it was painted in a factory, it doesn't have a lot of that layered color. But when I was doing the Lara Croft bow, that one I did, wasn't so much that I layered colors and had them mix, is that I layered them and then I sanded them down so that it chewed back through the layers down to the base color, like a dark wood, to make it look worn. But that did give it a lot more texture, which was pretty cool. So layering paint can both be additive and subtractive.
Yeah, like if you look at like my rust burner masks, my Destiny ones, I do a lot of, like you just said, adding the paint into there and then sanding it back down.
That's this fella right here. Ta-da. So yeah, it looks like it's worn. It's good stuff. It's fun too. Like doing it's fun to do that. It's fun to take pictures as you go too, as you add layers, because then details start to pop out. Like all the sculpting work that you put in, especially little details, start to pop out more. The more layers you add, the more, and when you sand stuff back. So there you go. I forgot who asked the question. That was Sam. Oh, it's Sam. Sam from Bio Cosplay. Cool stuff, Sam. Thanks for the question. All right. This is good. Tristan says, how much would you guys pay for a professional website and search engine optimization? Tristan, are you claiming that my website is not professional? I would pay an awful lot. Unfortunately, I can't afford that right now. Did you put your website together, Steven? Did you do it yourself?
Yeah, I did do it myself, even though, again, my computer technology savvy, it's not there. But it looks pretty good, you know?
You know what? The real answer is, you want your website to look really good, put good pictures on it.
And that's the thing. I was like, all right, what's the biggest facing of every picture I can get?
Yeah, that's right. My website, and I did my whole thing myself. It's all WordPress. The store is run through Woocommerce is the plugin I use for that. It is just layers of plugins, just band-aided over one another. In fact, I'm terrified to change anything because it'll break. I did that yesterday. I wanted to add a portfolio section with a really cool portfolio plugin. I found a plugin I liked. I activated it. I started adding stuff to it. It looked awesome. I went to my front page, and the formatting was obliterated. It's just gone on the live site. So I had to deactivate that plugin and mess with it. Yeah. But that's kind of where I am right now. I got my website working, and at some point I am going to pay to have a huge overhaul on it. But right now it works. It does the one thing it needs to do, and that is provide a place for my content and my store.
Yeah, that's basically what I was at too, is that, you know, pretty pictures and then stores in the corner. Okay.
Yep. And that just links to Etsy, right?
Yeah. Pretty much everything I have goes through Etsy. I'm very happy with them.
That is rather handy. That's a good topic though, Tristan. I could talk a lot about that. I don't know if Tristan was offering services, but someday I'll get there. Someday I'll redo my website. Fearless Facade, one of our regulars, wants to know, I'd like to write up my first press release for a mask prop I just finished for a game studio. It will be my first press attempt, and I know you have done similar yourself. Do you have Any pro tips to help this kind of work reach sites such as Kotaku and other news publishing sites? Any thank yous? I've done that before. I remember Kotaku used to have an email address to give them tips. Like they would just, if you had a thing you wanted to tell them about, you thought they should have a story on, you could email them there. I don't know if that still exists or not, but if a website has a contact form, if a news outlet website has a contact form that you can get a hold of them, then that's how you just do that. You just need to find the right email address to make sure that your email gets to the right person. But mostly, whenever I've done that sort of press release thing, you are basically writing an article for them. You're giving them photos, you're giving them all the relevant information so that they have to put in as little work as possible to put together an article for their website. So that's what you want to do. Have you done anything similar to that, like that, Steve?
Yeah, actually, when Dead Space, when I was finished with it, I went through multiple horror websites like Bloody Disgusting and all that, and just, hey, here's something I built and put it out there, and it latched on to some of them really, really well, and so it kind of took off. I tell you what, though, I mean, it's still, I mean, you try to go through those, but just putting it out on the internet, having a thread in the RPF has great Google tie-ins already. I mean, do the RPF, do Instructables, do Instagram.
Also, whatever the game is that you finish. So, for example, like this Nuka Cola bottle that I made is from Fallout. I'm sure there's an official Fallout, or Bethesda has. Let's even look for it right now. Fallout. Forums. Let's see if they actually have one. Forums.bethsoft.com Fallout 4. Sure enough, there are forums just for Fallout 4. Ta-da! That would be a great place for me to post about my Fallout props. I haven't done that. I should really do that. But also there's a subreddit for just about everything. So reddit.com. I did post this on Reddit, and it got some pretty good traction there too. There is specifically a Fallout subreddit, but there's also a DIY subreddit, and they like you to make basically a pictorial build right up on Imager. That's like a step-by-step on how you made something. So if you finish a prop, that's a really great place to post it as well. So there's some ideas for who was asking for Fearless Facade. Some tips for you to get your content out there. Do you ever browse Reddit, Steve?
Every now and then. The Imager one that you're talking about, I did my Bandit Steve shoulder pads. I did through there and then posted it back to Reddit, and it did really, really well. But I've had others where it's like you post it and then the jackasses get on and start commenting just negative, blah, blah, blah. It's like, all right, I'm just going to go ahead and deactivate this one.
We get a lot of that with the Destiny stuff. Like 5 people are like, that's really cool. Then 10 people are like, Destiny sucks.
Yeah, and it was on one of my Destiny ones. So, yeah, way to go there, Bill.
All right. Yes, the internet can be a cruel, cruel place. Here's one from our pal Jackie Kraft. She says, I saw you and Eric from German Props both competing this year in some Halloween prop contests. Do you ever build specifically for a competition anymore in your career, or just submit the things you've already made?
I don't do them for a specific competition. Like with all of my builds, I have build threads of, them start to finish. So usually I'll just pick one and put it out there. Like the Dead Space was last year on Instructables, but this year I did Turbo Kid, and I did my Destiny ones. So, but yeah, anymore, it's like I rarely even take commissions all that off because I just build what I want to build, and because it keeps it funner that way. That's what keeps the monotony of doing all the orders, at bay.
I should enter the Inventables contest every once in a while because they have some good loot, some good giveaways in that. But it's just has never lined up. I've never had a thing ready to go right when that competition pops up every year. And I should remember because it's right around Halloween. But for some reason, I'm always booked.
But I was lucky the editors, they like a lot of my stuff. And so like, hey, Halloween's coming up. Are you going to have a new costume for this year? So like,
yeah.
All right, yeah.
Well, they want that, though. They want people who are good at making stuff, who are good at documenting and making tutorials. They want them putting that content on their website, you know, so they have an incentive to contact you. That's cool. That's really fun, though. It's fun when they do that because, like, that creates a higher level of quality on their website for the content that's on Inventables. I got to check that out. Actually, they're owned by Autodesk because Autodesk owns everything. Turns out, I got to check out that Inventables area at Autodesk when I was there, which was neat.
Instructables.
Inventables made the X-Carve. That's the machine I have over there. I'm getting my maker brands mixed up. All right, cool. Thank you, Jackie. Next question. This one here comes from Fort Knox Props. How is the bromance with Cullen Cosplay going these days? Is that for you?
Yeah,
and Cullen Cosplay responded, I approve this message.
Yeah, Joshua Cullen is one of my very good friends. You know, he out of everything in cosplay, if you'd have asked me 3 years ago, I didn't know what cosplay was. The whole reason I'm into this is because I watched Josh build stuff on the RPF. His cousin worked with me at Lowe's and was like, hey, look what my cousin does. And so, yeah, Josh and I have become very good friends since then. We'll actually be venturing to a couple of cons together this next year, going to do C2E2 for the first time.
Cool.
And probably Denver.
Awesome. Tristan just chimed in that he says, I love your site. So thank you, Tristan. I don't know if he means you or me, but
we'll take it for a win for both of us.
That's right. Awesome. Let's see here. Let's grab another question. This one comes from Les. Oh, the last one was Fort Knox Props and Cullen Cosplay. All right. You should, and if folks haven't checked out Cullen Cosplay, let's just look him up real quick. Cullen, he's working on a Batman that looks really cool.
He's always working on Batman.
Of course. No, but this one I like a lot. It's from one of my favorite Batman stories. Where is it? Where the crap? I need another picture. Let's see here. Photos. And this Batman. This is the Azrael one from Nightfall, I think. That one's crazy. And I know for a fact he can't turn his head. All right, so Cullen Cosplay, go check him out. Next one, this one's from our pal Eric over at Core Geek Props. And he wants to know if you're going to be here for Emerald City Comicon this year.
I will be at Emerald City. I just got my professional registration not too long ago, so I will be venturing back. Yes.
Despite the horrible hospitality from the Durant house last year, he'll be back. Good, yeah, and Eric, I'm sure, will be there too. He's local, and I'll be there in some faculty or whatever, in some way, one or another. I'll be there for sure. This one's from Les. Do you have a set point of no return when working on a project when you decide no matter what curveball the build throws, you will see it through? Or are you always willing to walk away from a build that's not working, no matter how far along it is? I'm only ever really bailed on one or two projects ever. And I bailed early. Like, I'm good at knowing when I start something, if I'm like, this is a fool's errand. Why would I do this? Why would I build a foam set of Iron Man armor in less than a week for San Diego Comic-Con? Which is something I tried to do. But I didn't bail on that entirely. I still built part of it and wore part of the costume. Well, how about you, Steven? You ever just call it quits on a project?
No, I haven't, but it's one of those that, like, you know, before I did this, I was an illustrator, and it's one of those things where, all right, this looks like crap, this looks like crap, this looks like crap. Oh, it looks awesome now. You know, it's one of those, you got to get to that point. You got to just keep going through it until you add, like, a lot of the little details and everything. So as long as your base structure is good. Yeah. You know, the details are what's really going to set it over the edge.
Mm-hmm. There you go, Les. Keep at it. mostly for me, what keeps me going through a build is the males in my family have an amazing amount of stubbornness. It's just a boneheaded, stubborn streak that is what really gets me through most projects. Like, no, this is getting done. I'm finishing it. Damn it.
Well, that's why my wife asked, she's like, why did you post the orc already? Because usually I get quite a ways into a build before I really start posting. I'm like, because if I post it, I can't back out of it.
Yeah. Oh, if you tell people that it's going to be done, they're like, the world is counting on me now.
Well, and it blew up too. I was really shocked about how many people were really supportive and, like, oh, I can't believe it. You're going to build this. It's going to be awesome. I'm like, they have a lot of faith in me.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. That last one was from Les. This one here is from Sandra. When interacting with fans at various cons, any awkward or scary encounters? Oh, sure. What's the best fan experience you've had to validate your work as prop makers? Keep up the great work. Well, Steve was there for the scariest thing ever.
Yeah, it was our very, very first time we'd ever met at a convention or anything.
That's right. I don't know if this kid was a fan or not, but some kid came up to me in just like a black trench coat, normal looking kid, wasn't in a costume or anything, and decided he wanted to show me a thing he just bought. And that's all he told me. Turns out that thing was a pocket knife that's like a spring loaded one. It's like a normal, like I've got one. It's got spring assisted. Anyway, he did that in front of my face, and I just about crapped in my pants. It was kind of frightening. And Steve was standing right next to me. The kid realized what he did and like fumbled away. And I looked over at Steve, who like, who does that? Who does that to a stranger? But that's about it. Other than that, it's just been pretty awesome. Pretty great stuff from folks. The good ones are things like dude in the UK. I forget his name, but he brought me beer at my booth. That was amazing. I'd like that trend to continue.
I was going to say, this is a ploy to get more beer, isn't it?
It really is. Why do you think I have these bottles? They're full of sand, but they're Red Hook bottles. I use these for weights in my videos. Just a subtle, like subliminal reminder. Hey, everyone, Bill likes beer. How about you? You got some good fan interactions going on at the conventions?
Just tons of it. I mean, it still blows me away that, I'm this little guy that lives in Kansas City, Missouri, and I go to these conventions and like, you're SKS Props and all that. It really does mean something to me to have people come up and, say positive things about my builds and whatnot. And I love it that, like, oh man, I followed my build based off your build. I've had people, especially with Destiny, so many people have based like their hunter armor off the build that I put up on the RPF. And I just love that kind of stuff. Yeah.
And for you have the added bonus of seeing lots of people in your masks at conventions. I see them a lot too when I'm at a convention. I'm like, boy, there's an awful lot of Steve's masks here.
there were 11 different cosplayers at Dragon Con that had my masks. So, I mean, cool. that was awesome.
That's really cool. Thank you, Sandra, for the question. That was a good one. Little trip down memory lane. Jacob wants to know, how do you both determine your labor rates? Do you have a fixed rate, or do you flex it based on the builds? Mine's pretty flexible. A lot of it has to do with how soon you want something and how much I want to do it. Because if you want it really soon and I really don't want to do it, then I will raise my price a lot. Like, I didn't get into doing this job by on my own, basically running my own business. I didn't get into it just to do work that I didn't enjoy doing. So I'll still do it, but you gotta pay for it. For you, Steve, you do most of your stuff. You do the like molding and casting of stuff, so that's a pretty standard rate on there, I imagine.
Yeah, and again, going back to the fact that I was lucky enough that I went to college, for illustration. So again, we had classes on, hey, do this so you don't get screwed over. You get paid what you deserve to get paid. the way I look at it now is that this is a specialty. You know, this what we do is special. You know, it's like having a plumber. Yeah, you can go get the plumber down, you know, the street. That's, you know, $10 an hour, or you could pay more to make sure that, you know, everything's perfect. So that's like, yeah, I charge quite a bit for what I do, but you know, usually I guarantee you it's like, this is going to be one of the best you see if you have me do it.
The other thing to keep in mind too, as you do a certain skill more, you get better at it and you get faster at it. And a lot of times people will shoot themselves in their foot because they'll do a job really well and really fast, and they charge less for it because it got done sooner. They spent less time on it. And that's counterintuitive. If you're really fast at something, then you got to charge a premium for that. Like, there's a value to your expediency. Keep that in mind too. Thank you, Jacob. Another good question. You guys are bringing some great questions today, and the chat is super chatty today. Let's see here. Dagger Elk is doing a painting of Lord Shax. It's great. Let's do a picture. Ta-da! It's Lord Shax. He's the coolest. He is the Crucible. All right, let's grab another question. This one is from Joshua. Oh, we had a Josh earlier. We have a Joshua now. Have you ever gone back and watched some of the videos or looked at your own builds you've done from years ago and see how far you progressed? I will admit to watching my old videos more frequently than is probably healthy. Mostly I say it's to judge myself and to improve. But sometimes it is really fun to look back at what I was doing 3 years ago, or looking back at seeing how clean this shirt was 3 years ago. How about you, Steve? I imagine you look back at some of your old builds occasionally, or is everything just the horizon?
Everything's just been perfect though, Bill. I mean, why would I even look back? No, I mean, even when I was doing my Bandit Steve shoulder pads, and I look back to like my 9-toe shoulder pads that I made my very first costume, you know, I'm like, these are terrible now. And they're over on the floor in front of the bookcase. You know, they're not even in a place of importance.
No, it's a doorstop. It's just keeping the door open over there.
But no, I have several mannequins around my basement that support a lot of my costumes. And there's one in particular that's behind my Wacom board on the other side where I work. And that's kind of like the trophy costume at that time. So Turbo Kid is currently on there, but it might get replaced. So
place of honor.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to go back actually and take screenshots from videos where I'm wearing this shirt. Not to be obsessed about this shirt, but it is pretty bad. Actually, there's a hole in it now where I got a Fordham rotary tool, which is amazing. But the first thing I did was got my shirt caught in it and ripped the hole through it. But I want to go get screen grabs of this shirt and watch it get cleaner back as we go back in time. And coincidentally, you can watch my beard get less gray if I do the same thing. All right, that one was from Joshua. Let's see here. Ooh, here's a good one. This one's from Placid Woodworks. How do you deal with negative feedback? Fortunately, most of the negative feedback I get isn't about my work. It's about Destiny. But I get feedback, especially go figure in the YouTube comments on a lot of the stuff that I build. You ever get anyone claiming they could have done it better?
I will say that on Etsy, no negative feedback. I am extremely proud. I've got over 500 sales on there, all 5-star reviews.
That's good.
You know, like I said, the only negatives I've gotten are when my body doesn't match the costume.
Oh, yeah.
And it's not on a cosplay website where people are like, oh, that's awesome. It's on like Reddit and where you get the jackasses of, that's the shortest, fattest hunter I've ever seen in my life. And I'm like, yes, I am.
Sorry.
Thank you.
I'm sorry I'm not guardian size. I'll work harder for you next time. It's interesting with Etsy, to leave a review, do you have to have purchased something?
Yeah.
So that's good. If you, as a creative person, who make stuff, especially if it's for sale, the feedback, what you want is feedback that's valid, right? Feedback that's valuable to you. And comments on Reddit aren't really that valuable because it's like, for example, designed by committee, especially when that committee is thousands of people on the internet, usually doesn't go so well. You want designed by a small focused team of professionals. Same thing with critique. If you're looking for critical response that's valuable to you as a creative person, you want to go to a small group of people that you trust to give you an honest answer that's appropriate. For someone who sells stuff like Steven, getting that feedback from customers, people who have purchased the item and held it in their hands, that's really valuable feedback. And if it's all, for the most part, really good reviews, then you're doing something right.
Yeah, and nothing makes me happier too. And like, you have new feedback, and I look and I'm like, oh,
yeah.
And they put like a nice little comment.
Yeah.
No, I will say the.
Go ahead. Even better is at a convention, like when I was at Dragon Con, I saw a dude who had bought a Mass Effect gun from me years ago. He had updated his Mass Effect costume and still had that gun that I made for him years ago. And he was still over the moon about it. It was that, like, that feels good. That one was from Placid Woodworks. Thank you. Negative feedback. Take it all with a grain of salt. All right. Another one here. This one's from John. How do you guys display and otherwise store your props? In a box over there. No, that's not true. It seems a shame to just throw hours of work in a box most of the time. And he says his shelves are starting to get overwhelmed. Well, you said you have mannequins, right?
Yeah, I have actually purchased high-end mannequins that could be disassembled that I take with me to conventions to display when I have a booth up. And when I don't have the booth, then they stay here. And yeah, on either side of my TV, I've got like my Dragon Age armor, and I got my Destiny one in the back there.
Is that like something the mannequins, those something you just bought on Amazon?
It was actually on, man, I forget the website. It's like a specific website that sells mannequins, like higher end ones.
Cool. We'll have to, I'll talk to you about getting a link for that. We'll throw that in the show notes. Also, I want to buy some because our Draugrs are literally just in a box. And I feel like if I put them on a mannequin in the house, it'll freak out any of my friends that show up, which will be funny. But B, if I put it on a mannequin and jam it in a corner, then maybe I won't wear it anymore. Maybe I'm like, it's over there and it's done. And now it's a statue. It's not a costume.
Yeah.
Don't put that on.
That's how I feel about Dead Space. Dead Space is around the corner, and I'm like, it looks so good on the mannequin. I'd hate to take it off of there and put that on again.
Yeah, I'd ruin it. But also, like my Mass Effect armor. Let's see, I've got Mass Effect. I've got the Draugr. I've got Lord Shaxx, and then something else. Oh, the one I just made for BlizzCon, my Crusader. Most of those I would love to retire and not wear anymore and put on a mannequin somewhere. And then my walls are just covered in guns and axes and stuff. Mostly props or kits made from some of my friends. So that's what I do. I am the guy with the box full of costumes. Thank you, John, for the question. Let's see here. Brooks Creation is put a note in the show notes. Yes. No, there's already a note for mannequins. We'll figure out a link later on. All right, this one's from D. Let's see. Do either of you host crafting seminars similar to Artyfakes? Not yet. So they do in-person seminars in their shop. I've been there before. I unfortunately didn't get to go to one of their seminars, but their shop is separate from their house, which is nice. My shop is in my basement, and I don't feel comfortable inviting strangers over. But Steve, have you ever either been to or hosted workshops before?
I haven't, even though I've had a lot of people ask. So
yeah. Well, that is something I very much want to do in person. Will and I got to go to Construct in New York, a new event our friend Alyssa put on, and that had a bunch of seminars and actual demos and in-person teaching. That was really, really fun. having part of an afternoon to just sit down with a professional and get one-on-one instruction will help you out. Like, it will leap you ahead months of practice at home. Even videos and even like books and everything aren't nearly as valuable as having someone in person. I also want to go to more of those. Like, I wanted to go stick around in the UK and just go to the seminar that Artyfakes put on, but alas, did not have the time.
So again, Bill, are we saying that if they're going to fly us out and give us beer to stay in their house, we'll show them how to build stuff?
Yeah, I will totally do that. I mean, I'll charge a pretty penny, but and only really good beer. Just Red Hook or better. All right, there you go. Thanks for the question, D. Let's see, we've got just under 10 minutes here and a handful more questions that we will start digging through. This one's from Costas. Let's see. Can you recommend a sewing machine in the price range of $200 to $500 that would handle a range of costumes like Assassin's Creed or a Wraith from Lord of the Rings? I can tell you which one I have, and it's okay. That's all I know about sewing machines, but it isn't in that price range. How about you, Steve? What do you use for a sewing machine?
It's like a Singer that I got from Amazon. It's, again, I don't know sewing machines, so it did well enough to sew a cloak for my hunter and to sew my undersuit for my Isaac Clarke costume. So
very good. Let's see. Ours was, or is, a Janome is the brand, Janome sewing machine. It's none of these look familiar. But I'll tell you what, we will find a link to the one that we have and throw it in the show notes. These are all fairly reasonably priced ones. Like this one's $300. It's got 4-star ratings. This one's $350. It's got 5 stars, 4.8 stars. That sounds like a pretty good one right there. But I can vouch for the Janome brand. They're pretty good. Those are pretty good. And also consider buying them used if you're looking to save a couple bucks. Also consider if they were used, they may need some repair. But there are people that will do that for you. There are people, not me. All right, there you go, Costas. I did some sewing on my Crusader. I made a tabard, and I was pretty proud of it, how it turned out.
That's how I was with my hunter cloak. Like, I was so proud, and then my seamstress friends were like, I could have done that in like 15 minutes.
You shut up. I did what I did for that, though, which works really well. I grabbed a t-shirt that fits me, actually one of my old shop shirts, and I just cut it up and turned that into a pattern. And then I just extended the bottom of it because the tabard is just like a long t-shirt with a split down the side, so I could show off my legs. And that's how I made my pattern. I also found out that my old shop shirt was no longer symmetrical. It was just completely ruined from years in the shop. Let's see. I'm trying to find a picture of that real fast. How do I not have a picture of my costume? I don't know. Anyway, I made a tabard. I'm pretty proud of that. Let's see here. This one's from Nate. He says, I recently watched your Nuka Cola bottle video. Hooray! And would like to take it to the next level. Do you know of a resin that is clear and food safe so I could make an actual bottle? Tell you what, I was having this very discussion with my pal Jesse Loggers from Midnight Armor. This is what we talk about. We ran into him in Las Vegas, and he was really drunk. And what we were talking about was food safe resin casting, like one does. And he had one. I'll have to find out and put it in the show notes. But he uses a resin for, he makes leather mugs, and then he seals the inside of them with a food safe resin. I need to find out what that is. And I've been meaning to ask him anyway, but I'll put a link to that in the show notes. So I don't have an answer for you right now, but it will be there in a little bit. Yeah, and Brittany is putting a link right now or a reminder in the notes. All right. So it is totally possible because we wanted to rotocast these things so that they were at least semi-transparent, but also so that they would kick faster. And Jesse claims you can put in more of the catalyst and it will make it kick faster. I don't know, but I want to give it a try. Steve, have you ever? I mean, you mostly use just like 365D for your masks and everything, right?
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. We started playing with, so this is 325, the resin in here, and it is actually, let me grab a thing. 1 second, and here we go. By itself, it's actually fairly transparent. Like that's 325 right there. But it's pressure cast. We put this in a pressure pot so that you won't see any bubbles. It also takes tint really, really well, and then like this bottle, it becomes semi-transparent, which is kind of hard to tell. But if you're looking to play with that sort of stuff, Smoothcast 325 is a pretty neat solution for that. And this can be slush cast, which is nice. It will have bubbles in it in the slush casting, but it's worth trying out. Do you have any molding and casting stuff that you're looking to try out, Steve? Like maybe a matrix mold? You ever?
Man, I have like literally my shelves are full of smooth on samples because I feel that I probably keep our local smooth on distributors in business as much as I buy from them. So yeah, I mean, I've got so much of like expanding mold, like the foam for molds and all that. But yeah, I would like to try a matrix at some point in time too. My Buzz Axe mold is done. It's shot. It's gone. I have to remold that. So yeah, I'm trying to figure out, okay, it was 15 parts that I was casting and sanding and assembling. It's like, how can I simplify this?
Yeah. Don't you know it? That's the space gun thing that we did a couple of years ago. That was 13 parts, I think. And that was too many parts. Actually, that's what Xander does with his what are they? The Destiny hand cannon kits. He's got one version that has a bunch of pieces that pop open, but he's got a simpler version that he actually sells for cheaper because it's only 2 parts, which is great because it's way easier to cast. But anyway, Smoothcast 325, everybody. It's kind of cool. And pressure casting is another thing that's worth looking into. Do it safely. Buy a pressure pot. Don't make one. Some people we know did the opposite, and it turned out really bad. Anyway, that looks like it's it for the questions, and it is it for the show. So thank you, everyone, for tuning in this week. Thank you guys for bringing such great questions. I see everyone's just going bonkers in the chat. It warms my heart to see when we show up, and you guys are already there hanging out, so you guys are awesome. Steve, thanks so much for hanging out with us this hour.
Thank you for having me on. And I do have one other thing.
Yeah, lay it on me.
Starting on Monday, I will be giving away my yearly Psycho Mask again. So Christmas Psycho Mask giveaway starts on Monday. The 21st? I believe.
Yes.
And so if you check out my Facebook page, Stephen K. Smith Props, I will have the directions on there for that.
That's awesome. So is this the Psycho Mask you've worn all year?
No, I will give you a brand new one.
Okay.
Sweaty masks.
It's not a bad idea to cast a new mask and wear it for an entire year. Then at the end of the year, be like,
just give it away.
Yeah. So that's Stephen K. Smith Props over on Facebook, everybody. Go over there, like his page, and keep an eye out for that giveaway. Of course, we're doing a giveaway too. Just go to punishprops.com. It's this guy right here, this Star Wars Nerf blaster. It still works. I can shoot at you guys. Aha! And some lucky person will get that. There's a video associated with that. So go check all that out. Thank you again, everybody, for hanging out. Have fun at Star Wars. You going to see Star Wars tomorrow, Steve?
I actually cannot go tomorrow. Yeah, but I will be going soon.
All right, good. Next week, we will probably do the show on Wednesday again because Thursday is Christmas Eve, and apparently people are busy that day. So We will have a show again next week, so make sure you tune in. It'll just be a day early again. And that's it. We'll see you all next week. Thanks for tuning in to Prop Live. Bye, everybody.
See ya.